so I'll get started. So hi, everybody. Welcome to the third session of week one for the algos thing, where we're Englishizing algos, basically taking a solved algo and explaining what it's doing. As we found that has been a constant problem for interviewees. They can solve an algo sometimes, but they can't explain why they solved it, or what it means. So we're trying to explain an algo as if we're explaining it to a non-developer. So I got different ones today. Where is my, there it is. Which one am I logged into today? I have no idea. Probably have to log back into GitHub, because why would I be logged in to the right account? Just give me 1 second to log back in. And it's this account. Oh, ouch, stupid 2-off. I really wish they didn't make us do that with GitHub, because it's really annoying. Okay. Okay, so let me share my screen. So earlier this week, on Saturday, we took a look at FizzBuzz and we put English words to it, basically. Plus we took a look at a couple other fairly basic ones, but just other ones in trying to explain what they're doing and why they were written the way they were written. And it's all part of the repo, so I'm going to make sure everything keeps getting uploaded there. On Tuesday this week, we did some other ones, including FizzBuzz again, because it's a really good one to do. So today I have some other ones. So the first one I have here is not necessarily an algo, but it is a function of sorts. That I thought would be interesting to see how we put it into non-developer terms, what it's doing. So who would like to take a crack at the first one? Even if it's just a couple lines at a time.
I'll go for it.
Okay.
Um, all right, so it's a class.
So like a
It,
school, right?
what's that?
So like a school.
No, I mean, line number 3.
No, I know. You have to think about it in non-developer terms. So if you say class, I'm going to think school.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay.
All right. So it's a class named developer, and it's taking in 2 constructors, name, email, and location. We don't know what it's for yet. I'm just looking at lines 4 to 11 so far.
Okay. So how would you describe what a class is to a non-developer?
It's a container that contains all of your code that defines what your program's going to do, or where everything is coded in. Or did I say that right?
Close, because a class isn't exactly a function,
Mm.
but it does describe or define something.
In JavaScript, I don't know.
So how about trying to think. Oh, I like that. Interesting, Chris. cookie cutter to create several instances with similar traits or characteristics. Defines. Created. No, not something. I'm going to defines. Created. I think I spelled that right. Right. So the constructor is defining, those are all the attributes. What we would use in developer world would be the attributes of the instance of a developer. So it's the things, the crap, what is that English word? That gives it fudge buckets. A noun is an action word, right? Oh, I was never very good at English. But it's okay. I think you know what I mean though. This is describing something. So no, it's a noun, a person, place, or thing. That's what it's describing. So which one of these are required and which ones aren't? And how can you tell what's required versus what's not?
It's been a while, but I'm assuming that what's inside of the constructor parentheses. It's what's required. I'm guessing name, email, location, whereas the others might be optional. Is that right?
Yeah,
Or
it is. I didn't even realize I typed it that way. I meant constructor as in what the constructor contains, not, but yeah, inside the constructor parentheses is literally what are needed for creation. Everything else is something that is predefined or optional. Yeah, thank you. Right. So everything's indented a little bit. So does that mean that the three functions that follow the constructor are part of this class, or are they just functions?
they are part of the class, but uh, they're probably called separately.
Correct. If I remember correctly, that's how you have to do that one. I could have that wrong again, though. Wouldn't be the first time. Right, they're the methods. So what does this function, what is it doing, or what is it saying?
So this function is called create website. It takes in a site name, a stack, and a description for the stack. I take it. Um, it sets a variable for site, which creates a new object for website that includes the site name, the stack, and the description. Oh, okay. So it takes in all the um, what do you call them? Parameters. I don't know if that's correct. Um, okay, then line 17 says this site dot sites. What is sites? Oh, okay, that's in line 11. So sites is an array, an empty array, and we're just pushing all the information that we stored in the variable site, line 16. Okay. Then line 18, we're console logging the name that was in the parameter, with the word created, and the site name specifically is that. So we can say, what would the name be? Where's the name? Oh, the name under in line 6. Okay, so that will be the name of the developer. So name of the developer created site name. That's what that means.
Right, exactly. So what can you infer, deduce that this might be as well?
Uh,
Any sense?
it's an object, right? Or can it be an array, I suppose? An array called site? Is that what it is?
No, you were right with object.
Okay.
Most likely because website is capitalized, it's another
Mhm.
class that needs these three things to be created.
Oh, shoot, you're right. So it's somewhere else. I don't see it though. Yeah.
Nope, I purposely didn't put it in there.
Oh,
Yep. This came from a bigger file, but I purposely just kept the one class.
cool. Okay.
Yep.
So we need to create that function
Right.
or
So
constructor, whichever.
is being created by the pointers of site name, stack, and description. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And then why do we have return site?
Because we're returning back to whoever called create website. We're returning all that information that the website class object created.
So what's the difference between a return statement versus a console log?
The console log will only output to the developer screen, so the user won't see it. Whereas the return, which is good for debugging, but the return will give the user back the information they requested.
I like that. The developer screen. I liked that. That was a good one. All right. Oh, I like that too. Very well said, Chris. I really like that actually. Hey, get back down here. Whoops, I didn't mean to put it in there. To hit here. Hey, that is not what I had. I don't know what I'm doing here. So delete that. Sorry. I was trying to copy what you put. There you go. Because I actually like the way you worded that. Return gives something back. Console log says something back. I like that. So what about these two functions? they look kind of similar, but what are they doing? What are they actually doing for us?
So those are not returning anything, so they're probably gonna be called if there's errors.
Right. So that's something you probably don't want the user necessarily to see.
Right.
But what is this other?
Other, I don't see it anywhere else, so I'm assuming we need to keep looking at the rest of the code. Because that's where we're gonna be whatever extra information probably if there's more parameters, I'm guessing, and created a 404. Oh, well, that gives you the answer sort of. Um, I'm Give me a see. So the creation of the or the access of the website returns error 404. We would console log this back. Um, and fixed sites says this name is the best day ever and fixed other sites. Um, yeah, I don't know what other it could be anything else that's not um specific information the developer user inputted to create a website.
So this .name refers to who?
Developer name.
But most specifically, the developer activating the function,
Oh, that's
right?
true. Hmm.
So, but this is part of the developer constructor, the sites plural. So what could other mean?
Uh, oh, okay. If the developer's trying to access somebody else's website, will that be it?
Yeah, so basically, like if we were to run this, like say, if, for example, if I were to create one, Bob equals developer, um, Bob, um, Bob at bob.com, because I'm boring. And remote is his location, and then we'll say Jane, because why not? Jane, of course it's Jane at jane.com, because again, I'm boring. And she's remote too. So if Bob's calling the broke website, it would be something like bob.broke site Jane. So Bob is a meanie head and created a 404 on Jane's site, is what that would basically print out to be. We'd have to have a website, so it'd make more sense if there was actually the website part. So
I see.
um Bob is a meanie head and created a 404 on Jane's I don't know, website. We'll just put that one. But does that make sense as to what the other's doing?
Uh, I think so. Let me just reread again. Is that name? Yeah, yeah, I understand.
It actually wouldn't have Jane's website because it would actually just list the site name, but it had to go into Jane's profile, so to speak, of developer to find it.
Yeah.
So that's why I put Jane's website. Yeah. So the actual file was over here. This one of my OOP files. This one? Nope. This one. So where the website is here. it had these information, and then we did things like this. Oh, I forgot the new part for developer. Heck, nabbit, I knew I forgot something. So here's where we created websites. Right here, Robert created a website. And then the site is broken was part of the website itself. And then apparently Melissa broke Robert's site, but Justina fixed it.
I see. Okay.
Make a little bit more sense with the rest of it.
Yeah, it's just it threw me off the 404 because I come from a technical background, so I know exactly what that means.
Right.
But it's okay. This is simpler than I was thinking.
No, that's okay. And that, but I cut it up on purpose because I didn't want you to see the rest of it so you could try to figure out what each piece meant.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to put this piece in our folder for tonight anyway, so. This one. Not lectures, what am I doing? New file. Because it was all OOP stuff, so that way it's there. Okay. So the next one. Who wants to try to describe what that one is? No problem. And there's a lot of information in it that's also giving other things away. Do I have my extension on? Which one is that? So many extensions. No. Yes, this one. See if it plays for me. There it goes. Oh, look at that, it yelled at me. Who's never played with this extension, it's actually a really good one to have if you're playing with JavaScript. As you can see, it yelled at me right away. Where is it? For JavaScript, it's this guy, where it yells at you when you start typing. And then there's one for Python as well that is amazing as well. I absolutely love this one. It literally prints everything out to the side. I love both
Oh,
of them.
it's in real time.
It's in
That's
real
cool.
time. Yeah. And so is this one. It's just a little bit different. Like it can't read this, which makes sense because I don't have the other class in there. But on here, it probably won't have those errors if I hit play over here.
Interesting.
Like you
Cool.
see all the errors are very different.
Mm-hmm.
So it even filled in stuff right here because of down here. So Melissa is a meanie and created a 404 on program, which is what his site was and whose site I broke. So it actually really fills things out for you really nicely. So you can easily see what's wrong with it.
Very neat. Okay. Would you be able to type the
Yeah.
those things?
JavaScript. And then it's a REPL for Python.
Very cool. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, no problem. Like with the Python ones, I use that one all the time in my beginner Python. When I first started teaching the Python classes, if I can find my Python folder. Where'd it go? There it is. Go with, sure, we'll go with that one. As soon as I turn this guy on, this got little devil dude up here. It opens it up over here. As soon as I start typing, it literally prints everything out over here, and it even breaks down like my lists and stuff like that. Like here is I am list right here, so I can see it before I even print it.
Yeah, very good for learning.
It is. It is. And it's very helpful because when you start to go like print, and we'll do, it instantly errors out on me and says, whoa, you can't do that. So then I put the quotes in there, and now it's fine. So it errors out really nice and quick. Definitely one to play with. Let me undo that. There we go. Sorry. So this one, oh, I can just console log that out for now, or that out now, so it doesn't yell at me. There we go. Now we have no errors. The errors were killing me. So what is this?
That's a constant object, but it's an array constant, so it
Is it an
can be
array?
changed. Well, no, it's not an array actually. It's has key value pairs.
Right.
Well, an array that has key value pairs. Is that what it's called? Array with key
An
value
object.
pairs.
An object.
Oh,
You're,
just an object.
yep. And you said because it's a constant,
Mhm.
it means what?
That it can't be modified. Yeah, immutable, that's the word.
Right. So that means I can't do, I can't redo anything like that. It yells at me instantly. If this was a var, I can.
Yeah.
If this was a let, I can. The only difference with let is I can't do this. But I can if this is a var. I can redeclare a var, as in call it a var and give it the same name again, but I cannot do that to lets. That's why we don't use var anymore, because it's too easy to mess up your programming, because you can easily overwrite it.
Okay.
Yes. Yep, exactly. Vars better inside functions because you're typically not going to make functions so long that you're going to reuse something that easily. So vars are better inside functions, especially like inside a for loop. Something else that is nice about this is if I do, if I could spell, not log. Hopefully I do this right. I feel like I'm gonna do it wrong. No, that should be right. Notice what it prints right next to it, besides the plus times one. Has anybody ever played with typos before?
I'm guessing that for JavaScript, it probably tries to console log however you type it, right? So if it's in quotes, string, if it's a number, it will be a number instead of try converting automatically to string. Will that be it?
So type of actually, like Chris said, is it actually tells you what variable type or what data type this is. So in this
Ah,
case, type
cool.
of this item is a string, which it is. And this one happens to be a number. So prop 3 should be a type of what?
Boolean.
Right.
Really?
Prop 3. And then what about 4?
Would also be Boolean, right?
No. Because Boolean
Hmm.
is what?
True or false?
Right. So it can't be Boolean if it's null.
Interesting. Object. Okay.
Yeah, that one comes back really weird. And this one, if I remember correctly, this one's going to come back as an object as well. We did this the other night in class, and for some reason, an object prop. Yeah, even though we know that's not an object, that's an array. For some reason, nulls or and arrays and objects. So if I were to put like prop 5 or 6, if I could spell 6 and do an object of name. All of a sudden I forgot how to do it. Why is it? Oh, I forgot a comma. My bad. And then do this for 6. It'll also come back as an object. I haven't figured out why an array comes back as that or null, but it does. So I'm just like, okay, as long as I know that. But you
Is
can
it anything to do with the plugin, maybe? Or is that actually what we would see?
know if I were to actually run this, like run it down here, it would come out that way too.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, like, why did you say like arrays is coming back as an object?
I don't know. I have no idea why
Oh.
it considers the type of an array actually an object. Because it's not. But I think it's reading the entire line versus just its value. Because this is part of an object. And I think that's why it does it, but I'm not really sure. Because it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, same.
But that's also part of the whole JavaScript is kind of loosey-goosey. So we just kind of have to hit the I believe button sometimes. What about the last function we have on here? Does anybody know what kind of function that is?
Isn't it like a method, like a function? I forget what it calls. But this is not gonna be an object, right? It's a function, and you just invoke or you can just call it somewhere in the program.
Right.
I'm not sure.
So it's a recursion type function because it calls itself within itself. In this case, if I were to actually turn the function on, I'm getting an error. And why am I getting an error that says maximum call stack size exceeded? Yep, exactly, because it runs until Stack Overflow, exactly. So it has no stopping point. So why would we even have this ability to call a function within itself? Would there ever be a need, or can anybody think of a reason why they would want to do something like that?
Maybe for some type of repetition.
Okay. But wouldn't it always run into like a Stack Overflow without a while loop or something like that?
I think so. Don't we usually need a base case to stop the Stack Overflow?
Usually, yep. I'm trying to find it. Where is it? So what if we had a function like this? There's more data that goes with this one, but what if we had something like that? What does that look like it's doing? Here's its data set. If that helps. Will this one run into that Stack Overflow?
I want to say yes.
Okay, why?
Because in the else statement, it kind of seems actually. Actually, no. I want to say no. It's because it's in the for loop else statement. Yeah.
Right, but it's still calling itself within itself. But
It's gonna keep running because line 93 is still outside. So as soon as the for loop is done, it's gonna run again. Wait a second, that's a function. Oh yeah, I feel like it's gonna keep looping. It's gonna repeat the loop or something like that. Is that what a Stack Overflow is?
if it keeps repeating itself, correct, that's what a Stack Overflow is. So like if I were to
I see.
actually run this and hit play over here, it's just going to error out over here. It's going to literally just keep going until it says, dude, I'm done. And like, it's still going. It hasn't, oh, there it goes. Now it stopped. After 257 iterations, it stopped. With this one, it's actually looking through this whole array, and we want it to call itself again because we want it to go inside the array. So in this for loop, we're saying and go to its end. So if uh, 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 = 2 instructions. Wait, did I do that backwards? Oh wait, if current index is not an array. So the first loop through, it hits 3. So it's going to, the first loop, oops. Sum equals, oh wait, I meant to put loop 1, my bad. Sum equals, sorry, let's do it this way. It'd be 0 equals 0 plus 0. No, 0 plus 3, my bad. And then loop 2, it would be what?
It would skip to else, loop 2, right?
Which means it would go, because we have this, it would go into the array of this. And then go through this if statement. So then you would have 3 plus 1 would be, so on and so forth until it reaches
Oh,
its
got
end.
it. It's still running loop A. Let's call it loop A and loop B. So else runs loop B. Once loop B is done, loop A will continue.
Correct.
Okay.
Unless it has like something like this where index 2 is an array, but it contains arrays that also contain arrays. So like the loop A still runs like you said, but now it's going to run B and then C for the blue and then yellow and then purple.
Right. Okay, cool. See, but except we haven't programmed that, I don't think.
What's that?
It's not there yet, right? I don't think we've programmed that. Or is it still gonna work that way? We're just gonna still loop inside.
No, it'll still work because as soon as it hits this, it says, oh, I'm an array, so I need to go inside my array. So then it hits this and says, oh, I'm an array again. I need to go back here. And DI just keeps moving inwards
Gotcha. Okay.
because it just gets like almost like reset. And then until it hits the end of here, then it's like, oh, well, I'm done. So I have to go back to where I was. And the final answer with this one is actually 80. Like if you were to actually sum all of this, it should give you 80. My class, when I did this once before, we took it and went one step further. And where's this one? Nope, not that one. We kind of made a Christmas tree out of it. We took the data set and we made it humongous, but the function still works. It doesn't matter
Very
how
cool.
big the data set is. It just matters that it knows what it's looking for. So a properly done function, something like this, can be done, and that's where recursion actually comes into play. So I'm trying to think of in a real life situation where we would use it, other than looking at like numbers like this. Maybe counting the number of students that are in like a social studies class across a school district. I don't know, just the first one that threw out of my head. So we have to go through each school and then each social studies class and count the students. So that's where we have to go like inside something else and something like that. And then back out again to go to the next school and recount. Yeah, okay. Trying to think. My brain has just fried. Correct. Exactly. Yep. So the only thing that's doing is just restarting a new loop almost, or an inner loop. There's another one I wanted to pull up. Oh, I know, this one? Okay, here's another one that I like to do a lot of. I like to talk about grandma's dishes. 'Cause grandma's dishes are fun. What is this function doing? Or this loop doing, or what would it print out? Does anybody have an idea as to what it would print out? Correct. What would it look like? If we're putting the string of grandma's dishes into it and then pushing it into this array, what would it actually look like when it's printed in this array if I were to console log this? Will you be mad at me if I tell you you're wrong? You're close though. You were very close, I have to admit. You were very close, yes. If I did, I think it's this one came after that. Wait, where do I set the table? I forget. There it is. So if I were to add this on to the end, what will the table look like? Will it be back? Sorry, go ahead.
I see. So I think it's separating the words, right? Because it's counting the letters, I mean, sorry, the letters. Is
Mhm.
that what it's doing?
Mhm.
So it would look like each individual letter plus the space.
Exactly.
Oh, it's right there.
Yep. And then when we set the table, we're taking the stack of dishes and popping them off and adding it to the table, or adding it to the table and then popping it off, or kind of. So what would the table actually look like? Would it look like grandma's dishes again? Yep, it is. But is that how you expected it to concatenate back? Correct. Yep, so pop is from the end, so it does concatenate in and back. So it almost comes back to this, except it's backwards. Because it has to take from the end and put it in first. Yes. Which is why I had this in here. If we change grandma's dishes to be the word race car, when it concatenates back, it looks the same. Right. It's a palindrome. Could we have skipped this step to get it to go backwards?
Wouldn't it just be an empty array though?
Correct, but if we redid wherever it says stack of dishes, so it's not going into an array, if we didn't separate this into an array, if we just took the dishes and did it through here to the table, would it still give us the same result? Like if we were to literally take this for loop would the result of the table still be backwards?
There wouldn't be a way to tell unless we capitalize the letter. But
That's a good point.
yeah, it would be backwards, in a sense, yeah.
But I don't need that guy. Oh, no, I will. Oh, wait, no, I said I was going to skip this, didn't I? I'll leave it in there. It's fine. Hey, stop. I was trying to highlight that. So Chris was right. Because it's one
right.
string instead of an array of strings. So you can't pop a string.
That's right.
Good catch, Chris. So this is bad. This is good. So I'll leave a little note. So okay, so starting on Saturday is week 2, which is going to be solving an algo and then explaining why you chose the method you chose to solve it.
I have a question about that.
Yeah, go for it.
So for the algos part, like you said, next week, do we need to have a deep understanding of data structures and algorithms?
No, we're gonna keep them fairly simple. I'm gonna go by where do I have it? I'm gonna use like the top 13. We're gonna basically use those, like we're gonna give you guys one of these, and that's the one you have to solve, and then explain why you solved it the way you solved it.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Because again, that's part of the whole technical interview, trying to make sure that you can explain why you're doing things. I think the other 2 sessions that one of the first developer jobs I got at a boot camp, I got, even though I couldn't solve the coding challenge. But I was talking through the coding challenge the entire time. I was like, well, if I do this, and I wrote it down, I'm like, nope, can't do that, scratched it out. But if I do this, I can do this. I rubber ducked the whiteboard, basically. But because I could talk it out and see where my errors were, and I could put some Englishizing to it, and I did some pseudocode, they hired me anyways, because I had the problem solving that they wanted. I may not have actually solved the problem, but I had the ability to problem solve, type of thing. Does that make sense? So it's definitely,
Yeah, that makes sense.
okay. Yeah, so it's definitely something you want to keep an eye on or be able to do. And I usually, like on my beginning ones, where's my web fun one? I have too many things over here some days. Where do I first do? Probably like here. Maybe. Nope, that's way too soon or too late. I know I have a JavaScript file in here somewhere. That's just JavaScript. Maybe I don't. I usually have them pretty well explained. I think I did it on the other on Tuesdays. If I can find where I am again. There it is, Tuesday. How I will go line by line to explain an algo. Like I'll literally like, okay, creating a job and calling it example 1. Sometimes doing this is more beneficial than solving the algo itself, just because you know your plan ahead of time.
Okay. So it's not really even all about like just solving the algo. It's like kind of saying it out loud and giving your thought process a lot and just kind of like trying to walk through.
Yep. I mean, obviously you want to try to solve it, of course, but if you can talk it out, like with Fizz Buzz, one thing we talked about a lot was, why do we use if and else if? Why is this first and not these? There's a method behind it or a reason behind it, but what is it? That type of thing. So, and that's something that if you can explain why you chose to put this statement first, then you would understand. Then that means you understand what you're doing. It's just a matter of getting the right syntax for the language they want you to do it in, type of thing. So on Saturday, Brent, an alumni, will be doing I like to leave my pseudocode in there until it's production ready. If it's certain, depending on what it is, for my algos, if I'm just doing like a code challenge, I'm going to leave my notes in there. Your notes should be more like this, on like underneath or before the algo, than in the middle of it, because this doesn't look as nice as this does. But if it's for yourself, sometimes having the notes next to the line like this can help you remember it better, because you know exactly, okay, this line is saying this. For coding challenges, I tend to put them on the bottom, below the actual function itself, or I'll do some pseudocode at the top. But I don't see any problem leaving notes in there. If it's going to be an application, when it goes to production, I'll take out the notes, but I'll leave them in like the dev version, if that makes sense. I also highly recommend never leaving console logs like this, because if you print that out, nobody knows what that is if they just run the whole file. I always recommend console logs more like Do I have it in this one? I think I do. I like to leave console logs more like this. Those are my initials, the line that the console log's representing, and what I'm wanting it to print, and then what it's actually going to print. Because if a developer comes behind me, they know exactly what this console log is there for, and they'll leave it be. Unless they actually need it, then it's cool, then it helps them. But this tells me exactly what's going on. So if I look at 117, hopefully, apparently not, but it was probably there at one point. It would tell me what's going on. So I like to leave things in parentheses for my console logs to make sure that anybody that reads my code behind me knows why it's there. And I'll usually comment out my console logs once everything's running, so they're still there. Yeah, exactly. And I just remove it in the production level, but I'll leave it there and just comment it out once I've solved the error that the console log was trying to help me solve. Because if it ever errors out again, it's there already ready for me. I know at one point it worked here, so I can find it later if I need to. That's really especially helpful like with React apps. Because you have so many pages you go through to find things. Having something like this to tell you exactly where that print statement or console log is coming from can help. I didn't mean to do that. So yeah, on Saturday, it'll be same time, same back channel. But Brent's going to be running it because I have a prior obligation, so I can't do that one. But then Tuesday and Thursday again next week will still be part of week 2. Does anybody have any questions?
It's always
No
3 days a week. Sorry. Go ahead.
For right now, yeah, 3 days a week until unless there's others that want to help run them. It's gonna be 3 days a week. Someone else had a question? I thought.
It's always the same time. Or the time is different each day.
I think it's the same time each week at the moment because it was the best time working with my teaching schedule here at Coding Dojo and other things. So it might change like in February when I'm sadly no longer with Coding Dojo, but I don't know yet. But they're always going to be recorded and they're going to be the part of the same repository each time. And then I have the playlist added somewhere. Yeah, I added
Where to find the repository? Because I think I haven't filled out the form for this. Today was my first day to be here, so
yep.
I don't know where to find.
No problem. So here's the repository. If I can find, there it is. And then I had the playlist somewhere. In here, I think. That one is, where'd it go? There it is. Oh, thank you, Chris. Yep, so I'll make sure if you were part of one of the projects and algos classes, I'll make sure you guys have the link to the playlist as well as the repository, because I don't remember if I linked those into the projects and algos classes. Yeah. But I know I opened this up to the projects and algos classes because they're in their last class, their last stack, so I opened it up to them as well. Speaking of, I have to get to that class. So are there any questions before I head out?
Nope, all good.
Okay. Then
Thank you.
yeah, no problem. I hope I'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.
Yep.
Thank you. See you.